Good morning, everyone. Just going to wait for a few other people to trickle in and then we'll get started with today's webinar. Good morning for those who've just joined us. We're just waiting for a couple more people. I can see people are still joining in the lobby, so we'll just wait for a couple more minutes and then we'll make a start with our webinar. Okay, let's make a start with the webinar today. So just take you through a couple of housekeeping points first. We'll be recording this session as always and uploading the recording to the Help Centre so you can share it with your colleagues. You'll be muted throughout the webinar, so if you do need any assistance, please use the chat function in the right-hand panel. There'll be an opportunity to ask some questions at the end, so please use the questions function and post your questions throughout the webinar if you have any, and we'll answer them at the end. And if we don't have an opportunity to answer all the questions during the session, we'll follow up individually afterwards. So today's presenters, my name's Freya, I'm a product owner here at Aptem and I've been working with the team who've been working on the Teams connector. So I'm really excited to be showing that to you all today and demonstrating the functionality. And we've been working over a number of months on this, so we're really proud of it and we're really excited to show you what it's all about. And then I'm also joined by my colleague James, who's in our marketing team, and he's going to keep his eye on the chat function and on the questions and help me out with all that today as well. So today's agenda, we've only got half an hour today, and we're going to do a quick run through our Teams communications connector. And we're going to take you through how to set up the communications connector, how to use the connector for reviews and meetings and for placements and workshops. And we'll also take you through some future enhancements as well. So we've had some feedback from some of our customers already, and we'll show you what we're going to do in future to improve upon what we've already got. You should also note that your organization's chosen package and add-ons determines your access to the communications connector with Teams. So if you're interested in getting access and you don't already have access, please speak to your designated Aptem champion or your CSM for more information about getting access to this feature. So what is the communications connector with Teams? So this feature allows customers to bring their own Microsoft Teams license into Aptem to manage online events via Teams directly within our platform. It aims to promote seamless integration between Teams and Aptem for reviews, meetings, and placements and workshops. And we're going to look at how all these events work individually in a demo in just a few moments. Obviously, that's the most important part of the webinar. But firstly, we're just going to look at the setup of the connector with Microsoft Teams, just to kind of take you through how you would go about getting this set up. So the first thing you'll need to do is ask our support team to enable the integration for you. So once you've got your package and your add-on sorted out, you can ask our support team to enable the integration. And then you'll see this page, which I've got on screen at the moment. So we've got the Microsoft Teams integration settings page. This is in the tenant settings in console, and it's hidden by a permission. So if you've got the manage tenant settings permission, you'll be able to see this page. And there are a few steps that you need to take to kind of enable this integration to work. The first thing you need to do is grant Aptem permission to access Microsoft Teams on your behalf. So you just click this grant permissions button here, and it will redirect you to Microsoft and list the permissions that we need to access your Teams account. It'll need to be done by the Entra admin at your organization. So that's like your super user for Microsoft Teams or Microsoft in general. So you might need to get in touch with someone else to complete this step for you. Once you've done that, you'll see this page here. So you'll get this message say that you've successfully connected Teams to Aptem, and then you can enable the Microsoft Teams integration by hitting this toggle here. Now, you also need to set up some configuration in order to enable Microsoft Teams. So the first thing you need to do is set up an access policy, which encompasses all the tutors you want to use the communications connector with Teams. So you need to make sure all tutors are in your access policy within Microsoft Teams. We've got an article on how to do this on the Help Center as well. And if a new tutor joins, you need to make sure that your process includes adding them to that access policy. We can't access your tutors' calendars to organise placements for them unless they're in your access policy. So it's really important that we can get your access policy set up, get all your tutors in there that you want to access the Teams integration, and then you can confirm this by toggling that on the settings page there as well. You'll also need to configure the domain, which is your email address. So for me, that's aptem.co.uk. And the scheduling time frame on this page as well. So the scheduling time frame is the number of days in advance we will schedule meetings and reviews for. So it needs to be between 1 and 60 days. As an example, if your scheduling time frame is 7 days, we would schedule meetings and reviews for next Tuesday on the first time the job runs today. So if it's 7 days and your meeting's on the 27th of August, the first time the job runs today, we'll schedule those meetings for the 27th of August. And the reason that we set a scheduling time frame is that if you've got a 3-year program, we don't want to automatically schedule meetings and reviews in your team's calendar for the next 3 years when it's likely that these dates will change when you get closer to the time of the meeting. So we don't want to kind of fill your team's calendar up with dates that are going to eventually be changed anyway. So once you've completed the configuration steps, you can start to use the communications connector. I'll show you this all in a demo in just a moment, but just to quickly explain kind of how it works for reviews and meetings and then for placements and workshops. Reviews and meetings use the tasks in your Aptem calendar. So both the review and the meeting component have an associated task. When you schedule your meetings and reviews in your Aptem calendar, selecting Meet Online, these will then schedule in your Teams calendar so long as you're within that scheduling time frame. The Teams link will also be picked up and placed back into Aptem, so users can either join the Teams meeting directly from Aptem or directly from their Teams calendar, whichever they prefer. Placements and workshops work slightly differently just because of the way that they're set up in Aptem and kind of the way that they're created. So these events won't be scheduled in your Teams calendar, but the link will simply be returned to Aptem to allow users to access the placement or workshop directly from Aptem. So tutors can access it from Aptem and learners can join the meeting from their learning plan as well. Okay, so hopefully that will all make a bit more sense when we go into the demo. Let me just share the demo. Okay, hopefully you can all see this demo. Give me a shout in the comments if you can't see it or you can't hear it. I'm just going to hit play now. So now we're getting at a demo of how the communication with teams in practice. So I've got a plan here on the left-hand side and my Outlook calendar on the right-hand side. Now, of course, this is the communications connector with Teams. My personal Teams settings is that it syncs with my Outlook calendar. So the Teams events will drop into Teams via the Aptem integration, and then it will transfer across to my Outlook calendar in a couple of seconds. That's the default position for most Microsoft organizations, but you can change this or your organization can change this. So you might have a Teams calendar which is distinct from your Outlook calendar. Mine are linked, so I'm going to show you my Outlook calendar today so that I can show you a filtered set of events that are translating through to my Teams connector. But just to let you know, you might need to change your settings to achieve this same behavior, although it is the default position. So most organizations will have their Teams calendar linked with their Outlook calendar as well. So let's jump into the demo then. So I've got my learning plan here on the left-hand side. My learning plan has been applied to the via the normal processes. So I've built a learning plan in Program Builder, and then I've applied that program to my learner, which is probably what you guys are doing as well. I've just got meetings, reviews, and workshops in here just for the purposes of the demonstration. I'm sure you would have digital learning content, assignments, other relevant learning plan activities in your learning plans as well. But these are the ones that relate to the communications connector with Teams. So we're going to take reviews and meetings first, and these two components work really similarly when it comes to the communications connector with Teams. There's a couple of small differences which we'll touch on throughout the demonstration, but generally they work in a really similar way. So for our reviews, I'm going to go over to our reviews tab here. As we know, our reviews come in to Aptem from the program builder with a not scheduled status. So that's how they start out in Aptem. So these aren't scheduled, and that means they don't have an associated task. So we know that reviews and meetings will work based on the associated task. So at this point, none of these reviews are going to be scheduled in my Teams calendar, even if they are within my scheduling time frame. My scheduling time frame for this tenant is the 60 days. So anything within that 60 days should be scheduled in Outlook or in Teams, but only if I've met the relevant criteria. So if I've got a task and if that task is flagged as Meet Online as well. Let's start by scheduling this initial review then. So I'm going to do this in the create edit review form. So I can see my review is in here. I have a date, but it's not actually scheduled date. This is just my complete by date. So my schedule review now button is at the bottom of my screen, and I'm going to schedule this review. I'm going to bring it forward a little bit, and I'm going to schedule it for the week that I've got my calendar open on. Let's say we want this at 10 a.m. till 11. Crucially, I'm going to click this Meet Online button. It's really important that you click this Meet Online button. This is what tells Aptem that you want this to go into your Teams calendar. If you don't tick this, even if you've scheduled the review, even if you've got the task, Aptem's not going to know that you want this in your Teams calendar. It's also good because sometimes you might want to schedule a review which you do want to have in person, or for whatever reason you don't want to put it in your Teams calendar, but you want to schedule it in Aptem. In that case, you can just uncheck Meet Online and it won't go anywhere near your Teams calendar. I'm also going to add a description. So let's just say agenda for progress review. And then, of course, you could add your agenda points in here that you wanted to discuss with the learner and the employer. The description will be the description of the Teams meeting as well. And the title of the meeting will be the title of your review. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to create that task with the associated review. And in a couple of moments, that will show up in my Teams calendar. When we first brought out the communications connected with Teams, so in the last webinar that we did, there was a 3-hour wait period between reviews and meetings being scheduled in Aptem and being scheduled in Teams. But we've improved upon this based on your guys' feedback, and now it's almost instantaneously. It does sometimes take a couple of moments if it's just warming up, like mine seems to be at the moment, but it will be scheduled in your Teams calendar. So mine's just popped in now in a matter of moments, which is great. So we can see here that the review name, as I mentioned, is the same as the review name. Sorry, the meeting name is the same as the review name in Aptem. If I hover over it, I can see that the agenda has popped in here. And I also have this extra line. So if we just edit this so we can pull it out onto a bigger screen, it will tell you what tenant within Aptem this has been scheduled by. So your learners and the employers that you're inviting to the meeting will be able to see that this one's been scheduled via Aptem. Also, your tutors might find it helpful to know what's been scheduled via Aptem and what's just been scheduled as a normal Teams meeting. So this will be your tenant name, and then it will say via Aptem at the end as well. Just going to discard those changes. So our learner will be invited to the meeting if the review is visible to them, and the same with the employer. So the employer, manager and mentor are both invited to the review if the review type is visible to them in your review token setup. So we'll go into the learner email. So the employer emails will look exactly the same as this. So Teams sends this email out. So this comes from Teams. It doesn't come from Aptem. This is just Teams standard behavior that they invite the attendees via email. So we can see that my learner, who's this account, is invited. We've got the agenda here. They can add it to their Google Calendar if they want to as well. And then the employer is invited and they will see the exact same email as well. We also return the link to Aptem as well, so that learners, employers, and tutors can join the meeting directly from Aptem. So we return the link within the learning plan component, so I can see I can join the meeting from the bottom of this side panel here. We return the link within the task. So again, I've got the link here in the task. And then if I start the review, we also have the start meeting button at the top for tutors, so they can start the Teams meeting from here. Now I can also reschedule this meeting. So maybe I decide that I want to move it a bit later in the day. So I'm going to edit this one. So let's say 11 a.m. and then save. And then this will then reschedule in my Teams calendar as well. So it just takes a couple of moments and then it drops into that 11 a.m. slot there as well. I can also cancel my reviews in Teams by cancelling or deleting the review in Aptem. So because in Aptem our tasks and our reviews are linked, and we can't cancel the task without deleting the review. So I'm going to hover over my three dots and hit delete review. And then this will then be deleted from my Teams calendar as well. So again, a couple of moments and then it disappears. My learner and my employer, if relevant, will also get a cancellation email as well. So they will be notified that the meeting has been cancelled. Again, this is from Teams, it's not from Aptem, and it's just their standard behavior. As of the August release, we will also be able to reschedule and cancel meetings in Teams and have these reflect back in Aptem, which is a feature that we're really excited to be releasing. I know it's something that people have been waiting for. So I'm just going to demo that as well. So I'm going to create a new review this time. Let's just call this one demo. It's going to be a progress review. I'm going to add a complete by date. So let's just do the 30th again. And I'm going to select the reviewer as myself. So whoever your reviewer is for your review in Aptem will be the organizer of the meeting, and it's their calendar that it's going to drop into. So usually that's going to be your tutor. But if I wanted to set this up for Georgina, if she was my functional skills tutor and this was going to be a functional skills overview and a functional skills review, I could set this up for Georgina and it would drop into her calendar instead of mine. She would be the one who was the organizer of the Teams meetings. All the correspondence to the learner and the employer would come from Georgina and not from me. I'm going to do this in my calendar because that's the one that we've got showing here. So I'm going to hit schedule review now. And then let's pick a day this week. Do this 11 a.m. and then we'll hit meet online. And we'll save that. So again, we'll just wait a couple of moments and that will then drop into our Teams calendar. So I'm going to edit this one in Teams this time. So we'll just hit edit. We'll move it to Monday. We'll say 10:30 till 11:30 and then hit send. And then in just a couple of moments, that will then update in Aptem as well. So I'm just going to refresh my page. Might just take a few moments. And then we can see it's rearranged that one in Aptem as well. So this one's now scheduled for the 2nd of September, so the Monday at 10:30 in my reviews grid. It's also updated in my review here, so within the learning plan. And then the task should have updated as well. So in the task, it's moved from the Friday to the Monday at 10:30 as well. Now I can also cancel my review in my Teams calendar, and that will impact Aptem as well. Now we didn't want to kind of delete the review in Aptem when we cancelled something in Teams. We didn't feel like this was the use case that we were kind of hoping for as a user to cancel a meeting in Teams. We didn't want to delete the whole review instance. We felt that the learner could have added some information in there. They could have worked on the review. So we didn't want to just kind of replicate that behavior back into Aptem and delete that whole review instance in Aptem. But we did want to reflect that it had been cancelled in our Teams calendar. So if I just show you how we do that in Teams. So I'm going to cancel this one. In Teams, it will notify the attendees. That's again just Teams behavior. It's going to notify the learner and employer if invited. And then in Aptem, what we're going to do, we still leave the kind of date and time in Aptem. That was the date and time that it was originally scheduled for. But we're just going to remove that Meet Online flag. So we've removed the checkbox there. We've also taken the links out of the task. So the link no longer appears in the task or in the learning plan, so I don't have a join meeting button, just to try and avoid any confusion for the learner. If the task was cancelled in Teams because you were no longer holding it online, for example, it was going to be a face-to-face meeting instead, we wouldn't want the learner to then try and join the Teams meeting that was no longer happening. So we've just removed the references to Teams within Aptem, but we've left the review as is, just to avoid kind of losing any work that you've already got there. I can also then reschedule this meeting as well. So if I wanted to schedule it again, maybe I just cancelled it because that time and date didn't work, but I do want to actually have it in my Teams calendar. I can just hit edit review, scroll down to the review date, maybe change the time, change the date if I want to. So let's just make this one 10 a.m. and then just recheck the Meet Online checkbox. And then when we hit save, that will then drop back into our Teams calendar in just a moment as well. So we've now got it back into our Teams calendar at the correct time. That's also scheduled in Aptem as well. These changes are also reflected in the audit history. So if you go to the learner profile and go to the audit history, you can see that the Meet Online checkbox was set as no. That's due to the cancellation, and then it was set as yes once I rescheduled this with the new time there as well. So that's the functionality for reviews. We're going to take a quick look at the meeting component now. As mentioned, it's pretty similar to reviews, so a lot of the things are quite similar to how it works with reviews, but just with a couple of differences that I wanted to show you. So if I have a look at this one-to-one tutorial, we can see in here that we don't have any task information at the bottom of our meeting. So usually when you've got a task, the task details come up at the side of this component, and you can see the kind of edit complete task options here. So I've not created a task for this meeting, which means that nothing is yet in my Teams calendar. So I'm going to edit my learning plan component. I'm going to set up the date for the meeting. So we'll do this on the 2nd. I'm going to tick Meet Online. So just like with the review, I need to make sure I'm ticking Meet Online so that Aptem knows that this is a meeting you want to have via the Teams integration. And I'm going to create a task because the Teams integration is going to look at our tasks in Aptem. So I'm going to then add some task details. Once again, these will form the description of the Teams meeting. We'll select the type. Let's say it's an assessment interview. And let's select the day as well. Sorry, the time as well. So I'll just save these changes. Just take a few moments to then drop into my Teams calendar. So now we can see this is dropped into my Teams calendar. And if we go into the component in Aptem, we can see that the link is here. So we've got the link here. We can also join the meeting at the bottom. The link will also be in the task as well. So we've got the link in the task here as well. Now we can also reschedule meetings just like with reviews. So I need to edit the task to reschedule this meeting. So I'm going to hit edit. Maybe we're going to move this to the Friday. We'll do it at 9 a.m. And again, just in a few moments, that will reschedule it to the Friday for me in my Teams calendar so we can see it's rescheduled now. Now, just like with reviews, I can delete the component and that will cancel it out of my Teams calendar as well. So if I wanted to delete this component and no longer have it at all, I can just hit my three dots and delete, and then it will be removed from my Teams calendar. I'm not going to show you this one now because it works in the exact same way as for the review component. So we've already seen that in this demo. But what I will show you is the reschedule and cancellation from Teams that's available for the meeting component as well. So I can edit this component in my Teams calendar. So let's say I'm going to actually change this to be at 10 a.m. And this will then reschedule in my Aptem calendar as well. So again, if I just refresh the page, edit the task, and I can see this is rescheduled to 10 a.m. And similarly, if I look in my tasks here, it's rescheduled to 10 a.m. there as well. Now I can also cancel from Teams, just as I can cancel my reviews from Teams. So if we're going to cancel this one, we'll send the cancellation. Now, because we can actually detach the task from the meeting component for the meetings components, we will just cancel the task within Aptem for the meetings component. So when it's cancelled in Teams, we'll cancel that task in Aptem. So we'll remove the task from your calendar. We'll remove the task from the associated link. So that just took a couple of moments to remove the associated task. So we see we don't have any task details anymore. We don't have the join meeting button. And if I hit the edit component button, I can again select meet online and create a new task, and that task will jump into my Teams calendar if I wanted to recreate that at that point there as well. Now for the meeting learning plan component, we can also return off the job hours. So if you have assigned planned hours to your meeting learning plan component, so I'll just show you in this one, we've got 2 planned hours set. So any number of planned hours set will trigger this event. If you then select meet online, generate the link, and the learner accesses the Teams link, um, we will record the amount of time that the learner is in that meeting and return it as off the job hours. So I've just done this previously, so I didn't have to log in on as 2 people whilst in this demo. So I've logged in as the learner, and I've also started the meeting as the organizer. So again, the component owner will be the organizer in Teams. I have started the meeting as the organizer, and I've joined on my phone as the learner. And this record is the learner's hours that have been returned. So we'll just open this up. So we can see one-to-one tutorial, that's the name of the component, hours verified. I only spent 5 minutes in the meeting, and it's returned those 5 minutes back to the component. Now, if the tutor joins and the learner doesn't join, obviously we won't return those hours because we only care about the learners off the job hours. And the learner has to attend the meeting on the day it was scheduled for. So if I'd have attended this on the 9th of August instead of on the 8th of August, we wouldn't pick that up within the attendance monitoring. So it's important to keep your meetings kind of up to date just so that we can make sure that we're recording accurate off the job for your learners. Okay, now we've looked at meetings and reviews, we're going to take a quick look at placements and workshops. Now, the first thing to note with placements and workshops is that they will not be scheduling in our Teams calendars. This is just due to the difference in functionality with placements and workshops compared with reviews and meetings within Aptem. So I'm just going to get rid of my calendar for now, and we're just going to focus on the Aptem side of things for these workshops. Now we can see here I have a introductory workshop. So I've got my date scheduled and I've got the time that I want my learner to attend this for. I'm just going to jump into my placement workshop screen, which we know is still in Classic. And here we have all the placement workshop details set up just in the normal way, your normal business processes of how you would use placements and workshops. I've also got this Meet Online flag at the top, so I'm going to select Meet Online. Just wait a couple of moments and then we get the Start Online Event button that will pop up as well. Now, this Start Online Event button will work for the owner of the placement only. So the owner of the placement is going to be the organizer of the Teams meeting. So I can come in here as a tutor, I can start the online event. I'll just click on that to show you the pop-up so we can open Microsoft Teams or continue on the browser. The learner will also get a link in their learning plan component as well. So we get this join meeting option at the bottom of the learning plan component, and we also get the task, which is linked in the the link which will be linked in the task as well. So we've got the learner can join the meeting from Aptem. They won't be invited via email like they are with reviews and meetings. It will all just be kind of managed via Aptem for the learning plan, for the placements learning plan component. I can also then revert it to me offline if I decide that this workshop's actually going to be in person, just so I avoid any confusion with the learners. I can select meet offline. Again, wait a couple of minutes and the links will be removed from the task. So we've not got the link in the task anymore. And in the learning plan component, we will remove the join meeting button there as well. So that was our short demo on the Microsoft Teams functionality. And we're going to head back to the slides for the last bit of the presentation, and then we'll take some. I'm just going to reshare my screen. Just bear with me a second. So cool. Okay. We're almost at time. Oh no, we're over time. So I'm going to rattle through this last bit, and we'll try and take a couple of questions that are in the chat as well. So apologies for running over on time. If you've got time, then please do stay with us. If not, then the recording will be uploaded anyway. So as we just saw in the demo, at the moment, we currently invite both the employer manager and mentor to the Teams meeting. We've spoken to a few of our customers who are already using the Teams functionality, and they mentioned to us that it's not actually that helpful to always invite the manager and mentor, and everyone has a different way of doing things. So some people want to invite the manager, some people want to invite the mentor. So we're planning to implement an attendee list, and hopefully this will be out in the September release, all being well. And what that will do is once you've selected Meet Online, so I've got the kind of screenshot of the designs here. Once we've selected Meet Online, you'll be able to select who to attend. This list of attendees will change depending on who the review is visible to. So if the review is only visible to the tutor, the attendee list won't appear. If the review is visible to the learner only the learner will appear. And if it's visible to the employer, then the manager and the mentor will appear. So you can then select who you want to attend the meeting, and then that will only invite the relevant person. So that's a really good development that has been asked for quite a few times, and we're really excited to be delivering that. And it's also just a note to you guys to say if you do have any feedback, kind of either from this webinar or if you're using Teams, then please do let us know. We're always trying to develop and iterate based on your feedback and the feedback of the people that are using it. So yeah, just to kind of say, always feed it back, and we'll always try and take it into account and research how we can make it better if there is things that we can improve on. Cool. Couple of minutes for questions then, and we'll do this quite quickly. James, do we have anything in the question panel?
Yes, we've got a few questions. So first question is, what happens when the reviewer changes in the Aptem review? Does this change or create a new Teams or Outlook invite?
So currently only changes to the date or time will trigger a reschedule event. So currently the reviewer change wouldn't trigger that reschedule event, so it would remain in the old reviewer's calendar and you'd have to change that manually within Teams. If that's something that you do quite regularly, so if you often are changing the reviewers and you think that would happen relatively frequently, then yeah, feed that back. Please do let us know and we can see what we could potentially do about that in future as well.
Great. Next question. Can learners schedule the review, or is it just tutors or internal staff that can do that?
Currently, it's just tutors or admins that can schedule the review via Aptem. That's kind of the standard Aptem behaviour. We don't have the facility to allow learners to schedule the reviews at the moment. So yeah, currently that's just tutors and internal staff.
Similar question with an additional part. Can apprentices reschedule or schedule Teams meetings in Aptem? Also, if the rescheduling was done in Outlook, will it feed back to Aptem?
Yeah, so it's just tutors and admins that can reschedule and schedule. So, but both of those elements that happen in Aptem, you can only reschedule or schedule from the tutors side of things. If the rescheduling is done in Outlook, it will feed back to Aptem. Again, it's the organizer of the meeting that can reschedule things in Teams. So it would only be the organizer that's able to reschedule in Teams or in Outlook. But as we saw in the latter part of that demonstration, that will then feed back to Aptem as well. Again, it's just date and time changes that will trigger those reschedule events. So if you change the title of the meeting, we're not going to change the title of the component in Aptem because again, we didn't think that's probably what you were aiming for when changing the title of the meeting in Teams. So yeah, that rescheduling will feed back to Aptem.
Fantastic. And yeah, that's all the questions answered.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining today's webinar, guys. We do have a few webinars coming up. Let me just quickly show you the upcoming webinars that we've got. So we've got how to build a best-in-class progress review on Friday the 13th of September, deep dive of the funding and compliance dashboards on the 26th of September, and then registration, certification and assessments on the 15th of October. So do sign up to those if you are interested. Apologies for overrunning slightly. Hopefully you found today useful. If you've got any further questions, please feel free to drop me an email or email hello@aptem.co.uk. And thanks for listening. Thanks for being with us. Hopefully you found it useful.